And we are back with Ohio's on Fire, and I'm here with my this week's special guest. They are a popular political filmmaking group that you see their films on YouTube, and you may have heard of them by now. They are students here at Wright State University, which is the home of this very station. I'm talking about New Left Media. Say hello, everybody.
Hello. Hi.
Yes, I'm with Chase and Eric of New Left Media. Very awesome stuff. So anyway, for those at home that do not know who New Left Media is all about, Chase and Eric, tell them what you guys do. What is New Left Media all about?
Well, we're a small documentary film organization. We sort of got our start during the raucous healthcare town halls surrounding the healthcare debate, covering those and perhaps giving a little more insight into the so-called Tea Party movement than most of the mainstream media was doing. And now we're moving on from that and going to be doing some other pieces, hopefully more substance and less interviews here in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, primarily.
What he said.
Short political videos distributed primarily on the internet.
Yes.
Via YouTube.
Oh, well, there you go. Now, you guys do go. Now, I've seen some of your films. Of course, mostly you go to these big political events, like over in Washington D.C.
Right.
and throughout the country. You interview people. Do you guys need to get permission to do that? Have you guys gotten in trouble for interviewing people at these events?
Well, you get permission when you just ask, can we interview you? And the camera is present, and they agree to do an on-camera interview, and that's really all the legal permission you need. People don't have to sign papers or anything because you're at a public event and you ask them for permission to film. So that's how we get our permission. No, there's been no problems in that regard, no.
Okay. All right. Now, out of all the news media outlets that are out there, like internet, cable TV, a lot of people can get their news. But what do you guys feel personally is the best source of news in all media?
Well, I'll tell you what. One of our big criticisms is just the state of news in general. A lot of people get their news from sources that aren't focused on delivering the nuance or complexities of the issues they're covering, but what they do is they take news stories of import and turn them into frivolous entertainment, oftentimes framing things to be conflict-driven from the left versus the right, when in fact the true debate shouldn't be about the left versus the right, but about these other issues of more substance. So news sources we like, Eric, it's hard. We don't want to give a full endorsement of anything because everything has problems.
We like New York Times.
Yeah.
We like longer sort of periodicals, Harper's, New Yorker.
New York Review of Books.
There's NPR. I listen to NPR a lot.
Yeah, Mother Jones and some other sources. But there's this whole slow food movement, and we joke that there should be a slow news movement. We shouldn't look for news to be breaking news that comes every single day as fast as possible, because that doesn't give journalists time to get their stories right, to get the facts right. It doesn't give readers or watchers of news time to fully understand its issues. So we think people should slow down and read their news more slowly and not click the refresh button on the browser and not...
So from sort of a media criticism standpoint, I think we find that reading your news text better serves substantive, thoughtful news than does video or audio, actually.
Absolutely. All right. Now, you guys are on YouTube. You guys have a lot of high views for your videos. What do you contribute your success to on YouTube? What do you think you're doing good that's allowing you to get a lot of views?
Actually, it's a complicated question. We think a lot of our success comes because people watch our videos in a way that we don't encourage. They wield them as partisan bludgeonery, and they view them as funny comedy films. And we don't think we make comedies. We think we make horror films, and that we find actually sort of depressing to watch. But there's that, and then also I think that a lot of the coverage of the Tea Party movement from mainstream media sources has been so cursory and doesn't really wade into the crowd, doesn't really go in and ask people any sort of questions of substance to find out not just what they think, which we pretty much know because we hear it repeated all the time, but why they think what they think and where they got their information and feelings from.
Yeah, we get some people complaining about the length of our videos at a lengthy 10 minutes, which might be long for YouTube, but certainly isn't long by any other standards. And I think a lot of people appreciate going and being able to watch a 10-minute film about an event instead of a 15-minute news bite between commercials.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Okay, that's a good opinion. Well, I have to ask you, there's a lot of peer groups in this country. They have their say on how things should be done. Mm-hmm. Is there anyone that you've encountered that you've really been frightened by, like you just really maybe disgusted or just really disagreed with?
Well, we disagree with a lot of people we talk to, no matter which event or which thing we're going to. But our interest isn't so much in getting them on camera and then disagreeing with them on camera. It's just to find out what their beliefs are and then to deliver those to our audience. But to find someone who we think might be sort of scarier to, I don't know. I thought Orly Tate was pretty.
That's what I was thinking.
Orly Tate.
She was pretty out there.
Andrew Breitbart.
Andrew
Intimidating
Breitbart,
character.
Absolutely intimidating character. An interview with him, which is up on our YouTube channel, NewLeftMedia.com, YouTube.com/NewLeftMedia.
Go there.
Yes, please. He's a really gregarious, fascinating character. I'd love to interview him again if I ever got the chance. Obviously, very formidable in terms of his eloquence, but scary in terms of his willingness to do things with his own media and do things with his facts, whether it be the Shirley Sherrod scandal or whether it be the Acorn videos. He's incredibly willing, as he says in our interview with him, to edit things for nefarious intentions, and he thinks that's an okay thing to do.
Okay. Now, in a national poll, I want to talk to you about this. People who are getting their political news from online blogs, and well, to back up a little bit, there was several choices where people say they got their news from, whether it was cable news or a certain channel like MSNBC or CNN.
Right.
And online blogs was one of the options. And online blogs, they have the lowest intelligence of people that get their news from that source. Does that concern you? Like, being that you are an internet performer and you provide your political videos on there, are you concerned that online people, they're not very smart, only get their news from there?
Well, the public at large can access any media source, and whether or not, I don't know that we can determine that people who were reading blogs are actually less intelligent than people who are watching television, but I will say that I don't think that most blogs do a very good job.
Yeah.
I think that most blogs peddle punditry and commentary that is not fact-checked to any reasonable degree, and is the content of those blogs are the whim of the mood of the person who's blogging them.
And while following a blog might give you a good idea of sort of the horse race of politics in this country,
Right.
it doesn't give you any understanding of the historical context about the issues you're discussing or covering.
And so, so much of the headlines and things at blogs, the headlines will include celebrities. We did a little research thing because we're working on doing some writing about this exact particular issue, and we pulled all these headlines from the Huffington Post that were all people versus people. It was like Sarah Palin versus Alec Baldwin, Sarah Palin versus, and so there's the things get shaped into being news about people who are famous and well known, so that those headlines can have celebrities in them and conflict in them. It gets people to click on them to find out what that conflict is, and it gets the Google search results and tweeting search results up. So there's this false democracy, I think, this false idea of democracy on the internet, that people are sharing news of quality when in fact people are sharing news of that's most likely to be clicked on, most likely to be shared, and that's not always the news of greatest substance. And in fact, there's I can't think of the acronym for it. My internet acronym knowledge is slim, but it's TLTR. It's too long to read. It's this popular thing that people say when you send a link and the article is too long, and they just say, "Yeah, too long. I didn't read." And so that's a real problem. The stuff that gets shared on the internet is usually brief. We're taking issues and communicating them in 140 characters.
All right.
You absolutely can't do that without turning issues into bumper stickers.
Well said. All right. I got a few more questions before we go to the break. If I'll ask you a silly one, line things up. If Joe Biden was made out of strawberries, would you eat him? If he was one big giant strawberry, would you take a bite out of him? Joe Biden, I'm serious.
If Joe Biden
was a giant strawberry, and if you saw him in person,
was this a joke about Chase's comments about how people are using celebrities to make their programs more likable?
Right. Chase Whiteside.
Not really.
The headline will be Chase Whiteside will eat strawberry Joe Biden.
There you go.
I suppose if he were willing to let me eat a part of him and he were made of strawberries, I wouldn't have objection.
Yes, that's what I want to hear. Now, we are Ohio citizens. We're from Ohio.
Yes.
And we have a new governor. He's going to be governor soon.
Right.
John Kasich. What type of job do you think he'll do as governor?
Well, I mean, I don't want to say I can predict the future, but there are certain things that he's announced he's going to do that I think are detrimental to the future of Ohio. He's canceling the rail system that we were going to have here. So we were going to be able to, there's going to be generally high-speed rail. There was complaints about its actual speed, but so that we would have a line between Dayton, Cincinnati, Columbus,
rail line or something,
Cleveland. And it would end up connecting to one to Chicago. So what would be nice about that is young people could still live here and be able to get around without having to fly places or drive long distance on the highway. So he's getting rid of that. He's also not, in terms of college funding, he's also said some things that are perhaps worrisome, especially here where we're at a university. So John Kasich hates young people.
Oh, wow, I was afraid. Just why I don't know much about this guy, and since you guys are deep into politics, how does he hate young people? Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, no, the way I just said, and I'm kidding. I'm
okay.
Exaggerating. But well, after a strawberry Joe Biden joke, I feel like. But so,
you had to compete, all right.
So in general, I think that he's just he was elected on a lot of the sort of rhetoric of the National Tea Party rhetoric, this idea that we're going to slash government spending, reject federal stimulus dollars for, which in this case would have gone to the rail project. And when he actually has to put that into play in office, it's going to be very difficult to do. We have an enormous budget deficit projection in Ohio, and by law, constitutional Ohio law, we have to get our budget. We have to get our budget to match up. So when we're going to have the third round of tax decreases that have gone on, the state legislature passed a series of tax decreases here in Ohio, and even though we're having huge budget shortfalls, the third round of those tax cuts are going to happen. So it's fine for him to go and say he's going to cut spending on all of these things, but it's going to be much harder to see where he actually is able to find cuts to spending that aren't going to dismantle the basic functions of government that we need. What we need is to raise taxes, not lower them, and raise taxes on the people who can afford to have those taxes raised.
Wow, okay. Well, I agree with the tax part. And like I said, good luck to him. We don't know what he's going to do yet. It's just a big speculation.
That's right.
But I'm glad I asked you. So, okay, my last question for a good break. And this is a nail biter, I guess, or if you will. But who's going to become president first? A female, a gay man, or a gay female? Or I should say for female, I mean heterosexual, then be gay female. So there's three choices.
Okay. Well, I'd say that we can't be certain that there hasn't been a gay male president, for sure. So, but I also don't want to predict the future. But I would say that in terms of like the upcoming roster of candidates, it's probably more likely we'll have a woman president than a gay president.